in your bed and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brandon T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you are new to the show, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, talk shit, talk shop, get drunk, do drugs, and reminisce about crazy old stories. I am sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with a friend and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, comedian Alex Nicholas.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Dude, I'm chilling, man.
Yeah?
I'm just, you got me coffee, so I'm feeling great.
Yes. I got you coffee. Starbucks for the whole staff. Here we go.
Dude, best podcast host ever, bro.
Gotham Production Studios, formerly known as Gotham Podcast Studios. So before we get too far into everything, it's your first time on the show. So for first-time guests, I always like to get to know the guest, kind of talk about how you came up in comedy, what you've been up to. But before we do that, plug everything up front. Your podcast that you used to do, or are you still doing it, right?
Yeah, we took a break for a little bit just because we're all spread out, but it's Keep It Basement. Yeah, dude, we record out of my homie Sweeney's basement in Raritan. So I'm joined by the main host, Mike Sweeney, and comedian Tom Zappia, real funny dude. And yeah, we talk about everything under the sun. Real good time, man.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Beautiful. We'll plug everything else, your social media, where people can find you. This will come out in about 10 days.
10 days? Okay, so yeah, you can follow me at not Alex Nicholas on Instagram, Twitter, Alex Nicholas on Facebook, if you still use Facebook for some weird reason.
I do. That's how I keep in touch with my family.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Even my twin sister is like, I don't know, Instagram is just, I don't know, it's weird. I like Facebook. And I'm like, oh my God.
Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just use Facebook to like ignore people. Like that's it, dude.
So you do, you are a comedian, as I was saying. You're from Jersey originally?
Yeah, Jersey, born and raised.
Okay.
Plainfield.
You still live in Jersey, right?
Yeah, I moved to Jersey City, but I moved there from New Brunswick.
Okay.
So I started out in New Brunswick.
Okay, so tell everybody, how long have you been doing comedy?
8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I get some of these young bucks on here who are like 22. They're a year and a half, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oof. Yo, dude, it's so funny because when I say 8 years, that's still considered brand new almost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on... This year will be 13.
Yeah.
But I took like a 3.5, almost 4-year break, between drugs and alcohol and jail and rehab and stuff. So
yeah, that'll sit you down for a little bit.
But I had Isaac Gartenberg on, and he was like, yeah, so you started in 2018. I go, no, I started in 2009 and then took a break from like 12 to 13 or 14, and then from like 16 to 18. He goes, yeah, so that doesn't count. I go, it fucking counts.
Yeah, dude. Nah, for sure. Like, I think we always count from the moment we touch the mic.
That's what I say.
Yo, yeah. And then just no matter what you did, that's how long you were doing
I know.
it.
And I love Isaac, and they run that awesome Village Idiot show. But he was like, oh, no, I just count it from when I like started really doing shows. And I was like, you don't count it from like the first open mic? And he was like, no. And I was like, that's crazy to me. Because it's like the second I got drunk and went to an open mic and got on stage, I was like, I'm a comedian. I literally have a bit about changing all my social media handles after my second open mic to Brennan T Comedy.
Oh, bro. Yeah. Oh, she.
Like all of it.
Do you remember you changed the profile picture?
Oh, yeah. Me holding the microphone. You have to. It's important.
Dude, it was so funny. Like, I thought I was being cool, and then I noticed all the new ads I was getting from comics, we all had the same backdrop.
Yeah.
From the same club.
From the same club. Yeah.
Oh, my
yeah.
God, it's hilarious.
And then, what was the other big thing? Oh, this is because in 2009-10 is when, Facebook was the only thing.
Exactly.
So you would change your works at to stand-up comedian?
I didn't go that far, thank God. Yeah. Dude, it took me a little bit before I was like, yeah, I think I could say I'm a comic now, but like
I said it way too early.
Yeah, bro.
It's public record. My first DUI, the officer asked me what my occupation was. And I'd only done a few open mics, and I said comedian.
Oh, hell yeah. But that might get you out of something.
Well,
that's what I mean. I would throw that out there.
I
too.
talk about it all the time still because it was so funny. But in the police report, public record in Palm Beach County, the report, literally, it says, subject said occupation was comedian, comma, he was actually pretty funny. And I was like, boom, that's it,
shit.
man, that's it.
Yo, dude, that's the best thing you could get. That's
Fuck
the best.
YouTube comments. I've got a police report saying I'm funny, so you guys can all kiss my pathetic
Hell
little...
yeah. I'm going to still arrest you, but you're hilarious.
Yeah, that's
bro.
exactly what happened.
Jesus Christ.
So you said you came up, you started in New Brunswick.
Yeah. I started
What-
in New Brunswick, Stress Factory Comedy Club.
Okay, so you started at a club. Now, this is interesting to me because in Jacksonville, so I started in South Florida.
Yeah.
But then when I really hit the ground running was when I got up to Jacksonville. Like I've done comedy in scenes from South Florida to Daytona to Oklahoma City. But when I finally settled and kind of got sober and got out of rehab and really hit the ground running with comedy, that was Jacksonville.
Okay.
And in Jacksonville, the club at the time was like completely disconnected from the local scene. Like in order to get on the stage at the club, they didn't do open mics. Like you had to take their comedy class and pass it. And then you could do basically like, I think it was like bringer shows. I'm not 100% sure because I never did it.
Got you.
But I've had quite a few comedians on who say that they got their start in their local scene, but it was at the club.
Yeah.
So in New Brunswick with the Stress Factory, were they very encouraging of the local scene or how did that work?
They were. So it was, they did an open mic every Wednesday.
Okay.
Paid $5 to get up. That was like my first like year or so of comedy, was paying that $5, learning like how to do 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I met a lot of like dudes that are like, we're still close to this day. Shout out comedian Gordon Baker Bone. Gordon Baker Bone was actually hosting the open mic when I first got up.
Yeah.
And like we've been boys ever since.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I got my start that way, hanging around. You start to, know the bartender, gets another manager,
Yeah.
the booker. They see your face after a while. And I'd say probably about a year in, the manager at the time, Mark McCoy, he saw me walking down the street and they had a Sunday show, but it was with Talent, the comic Talent.
Oh, okay.
He had a Sunday show and he just like shot his hand. He's like, you want stage time? And I'm like,
Yeah.
for what? He's like, don't worry about it. Let's just walk in there.
Yeah, let's go.
And it was on some like, cause that could like, Talent's got some dope comics and his crowd's dope, but if you're not funny within like that first minute, it's some like straight up Julius Caesar, let him live, let him die moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like
I heard there's a show in Brooklyn like that. I think it's Derek Gaines has a show out there.
Old Man Hustle.
Is that it? I don't want to speak out of school because I'm not sure. I heard
They have
it
a
from,
great
like,
show and their
a
show
second or third party, but it was basically like if you get up there, if you can't get it within the first like 60 seconds to 90 seconds, like they'll get your ass right off.
Dudes start folding their arms looking at you. So
Yeah.
I just remember he was like, hey, here it is. And I was like, okay. And I went and thank God it went all right. And then that's when they started having me host.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I was like hosting for like another 2 years and feature. And
Yeah. And so
blah, blah, blah.
were you coming into the city to do spots as well, like open mics and stuff, or did you wait until you
I was
were
dipping my
booking
toe in.
spots?
I was dipping my toe in. An older comic that actually came out of Stress, Julian McCullough.
Okay.
Julian actually used to bartend there. Too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Julian, like, you used to go to Rutgers, was doing Stress, working there, I think, a little bit too. And he was headlining, and I was hosting. And then I remember he told me, I was like 2 years in, and he was like, hey, how long you been doing it? I told him. He's like, how long do you have? And I was like, 10 minutes. He goes, don't go to the city yet. Stay out here for like another year or two. He's like, and then go. Because he goes, you're going to get shows if you go out, but you're going to fizzle out quick.
Yeah.
And that was like the best advice he could have
That's
ever
awesome.
gave me.
Yeah.
Because like those 2 more like developmental years, definitely, when I would go out in the shows, it was just, you're a random kid that's like sort of polished. So then dudes will give you another show.
Yeah.
And then dudes will give you another one. And then it snowballs rather than like going through the whole treacherous, like the open mic scene where it's like, if dudes don't know you, they don't even give a fuck. Like
That's something that I'm sure the listeners are tired of hearing me talk about it, but before I moved up here, it was the same kind of thing. I was like, because I had a vision of moving to New York when I was with my ex-fiance. So God, that was like when we first got together, probably a year into our relationship, I was like, I want to go to New York to do comedy.
Yeah.
So this is 2014. But I, between relapsing and like not being able to stay focused. And then there was also a part of me where I was like, I don't want to be the guy I used to be, getting drunk all the time and then going up. Like, I have more respect for stand-up as an art form now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, before I move, let me like get some ducks in a row. Let me get like 45 minutes together, be polished. Exactly what you're talking about. But then I got up here and I had to go the open mic route because I didn't know anybody.
No, for sure.
And I realized, once you get up here and you're from like a scene, especially like me, like 1,000 miles away, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
and
man.
it's so hard to go to open mics because if I know one person, I can like talk to them, and then other comics who know that one person will start talking to me, and it's like, oh, this guy does comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I show up to an open mic and nobody I know is there, I'm fucking dead in the water. Nobody listens. No one pays attention.
Like, dude, you'll get up there and then people just walk out.
Yeah,
and just like wait for their turn.
It's
like,
so bad.
Yeah,
and it's been a tough road. And I mean, I've only been here for a year and everyone says it takes a while, but exactly to your point, it was like when I do shows, when I have the opportunity to do shows now, sometimes this happened with a show I did a couple weeks ago, but I got off stage and they were like, man, that was really good. And I was like, yeah, what? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, bro. I remember
I've had this 5 minutes polished for like 3 years. Like, I hope it's really good.
Oh my God. I remember I did like a mic, like maybe like 3 years ago or something out here in the city. And then like I got off and then the host was like, yeah, the man with many jokes. And I was like, what? I thought we were supposed to have jokes. Yeah. She was just like, nah. She was like, it was dope. Like you just kept firing them off. Like,
that's the fucking point.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah. It's weird, man. Because like
sometimes you'll go and they're just like bullshitting, and it's like I only go to open mics now when I have new stuff that I want to kind of like literally fresh in my head, and I'm like, well, I have to say it out loud to kind of find out where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the only reasons I go to mics now. And I'm not booking shows constantly, which is my own fault because I'm too proud to ask. I grew up as an athlete, so I'm very much like, oh, I'm good enough. If they want me, they'll ask me. But everyone's like,
yeah,
there's a million comics. You have to ask.
You do. That's the one thing that I'm starting to just get over now.
Yeah.
Is asking people for sure. Like,
because a lot of times out of sight, out of mind. Like if I don't see someone for a couple weeks and they run a show, they've already, in that 3 week time period, they've already booked like 3 months of shows.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like even when coming up in the club, it's like, you're brushing shoulders with dudes that are where you want to be.
Yeah.
And then like if they like you, like they'll be like, hey, dude, take my number, blah, blah, blah. If you're ever in my city or blah, 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 like, hey, hit me.
And
I'm around.
Did you have a
wouldn't?
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't just because I'm like, I don't think he means it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy like, hey, I'm around. Are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I know exactly. I've had horrible experiences with that where friends of mine have opened for, and I've told the story, but just in summation, a friend of mine opened for a very popular comic, and he's like, he's so cool. Like, you guys would get along great. And I accosted him outside of a bathroom. And I was like, hey, man, my buddy opened for you last week. He said we'd get along. And he was like, whoa. And it's like,
dog, I just finished pissing.
Yeah. But because I don't do dumb shit like that anymore. But still in the back of my head, that's always like around, like you tried it one time and you fucked it up. So don't ever try it again.
Yeah. I've had weird run-ins where it's like that, or you have the person that got amnesia all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've had those. Yeah, I've had those run-ins where it's just like, oh yeah, like I'll come up, be like, hey dude, how you been? And they're like, huh? What? And I'm like, bro, I got your number. Like,
yeah. I met
you like not too long ago either, dog.
As a safety blanket, I always do it. I don't know if you've ever seen Jerry Maguire, but there's the scene where he's walking with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character through like the ESPN thing in the lobby. And as he introduces him, he's like reads off his stats as he introduces him to people. So that's what I'll do. Like if I see a comic that's more well known or like tours all the time or meets a ton of people, I'll walk up and be like, hey, Brennan Tassif, Jacksonville Rain Dogs 2016. Like that's where we met. Or, so, I'll like rattle off the show that we met him at.
Same. Yeah, I'll do that.
And it clicks.
Yeah, I've done that, and it has not clicked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. The dudes would be like, huh? What? And I'm like, all right, bro.
I did that we were just talking about Lamort before we started recording, and I did that with him. I ran into him at the stand, and he was one of the only people I knew, and I had done a show at Rain Dogs that he was on.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dan Lamore. And he was like, hey, man. I go, Brennan Tassif. I'm from Jacksonville. We did Rain Dogs together like 2 years ago. And everyone always remembers Rain Dogs because it's like it's its own thing. And he just kind of laughed and he was like, "Oh yeah!" But immediately that validation of like we were on a show together clicks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, what's up, man?" And then we've been really close friends ever since. And it's just one of those things where, but sometimes, like you said, it doesn't click, and you're like, "Well, just go fuck myself then." I guess that's what we're doing,
bro. I just point in another direction and follow my finger.
Yeah.
I just walk out immediately. I'm like, all right, hey, whatever, dude.
You brought something up to me before we started recording, but it's something I wanted to talk about because we're talking about coming up in comedy and everything like that.
Yeah.
So you said your dad, when people ask you about your style, you had mentioned that your dad was a barber. So you kind of have that free flowing, like talking shit almost kind of like style.
Yeah, dude. It's like, it's a social experiment, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I'm right. You know what I mean? But like, you know, it's number one, it's all for the sake of being funny, but
sometimes I lose sight of that.
Yeah, people, I mean, me too. But like, yeah, I think in a barbershop, it's so opinionated, like opinion driven and devil's advocate driven that like somebody could be completely wrong, but it's hilarious for some reason.
It is.
Dude, and like my dad is super cool dude, but like that's definitely what got me like wanting to do stand up.
Yeah.
Like he'd be like cutting the dude's hair, not even looking up, talking shit. And he's like killing.
Everyone's
just
rolling.
killing. And I'm like looking around like, yo, how do you do that? Like, yeah.
Oh, so that's kind of, that was your introduction to kind of that.
Yeah, we're from a block called Sloan Boulevard in Plainfield.
Shouts out Sloan Boulevard.
Hell yeah. And my mom would always be like, you and your father are not funny. She was like, you guys have a Sloan Boulevard sense of humor. And I'm like,
really? She'd say that?
Cause I have a bunch of uncles that aren't my uncles that all grew up with my dad on that same block. And they just be outside, like fucking just making each other die laugh. Like the funniest, most obscure shit and like roasting each other. And my mom be like, that isn't funny. And I'm like, yeah, it is, dude.
Your mom is very much like a lot of kind of mainstreamish comics that I run into.
Yeah.
They're always like, dude, that's not funny. That's sad. Or dude, that's not funny. That's dark. I'm like, no, it's funny. Like,
dude,
it's funny.
It's like he has like some left field. Like I remember I had an Uncle Ivan, like, he like smoked cigarettes heavy, and I was a kid, and he's like shooting a basketball with me for like 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, he's like completely drenched, and then my dad just walks outside, looks at my Uncle Ivan, and is like, "Dude, it looks like somebody hit you in the face with a Vaseline snowball." And everybody's rolling. My mom's just on the side, like, I don't get it, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's genius, bro."
Yeah, that's God, that's quick too.
Vaseline snowball.
God. So what was it like coming up? Because you're not, I mean, we've hung out a couple of times, but you and I aren't super close. So are you like a big party guy, or do you like, because when I texted you about the show, you're like, yeah, man, I'm heading to the shore now. And I was like, all right, my man's getting after it.
Yeah, but me and my girl, dude.
Did you come up as like a big like party guy in New Brunswick, or were you kind of more laid back?
By proxy, because I bartend also. Okay. So that's my day gig.
Yeah.
At night, basically. But yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, by proxy, you're drinking, you're hanging out.
When did you get into bartending?
When I was 18.
Oh, okay. So you've been doing it for a little while.
Yeah, I started comedy at 19. Yeah. At 18 was like when it started. And it's funny, I wasn't even a huge drinker. I started smoking weed late. I started smoking weed when I was 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when you were in high school, you weren't like going out and partying or anything?
I grew up skateboarding, so I was around the party.
Did you
scene.
Really?
Yeah. I grew up skating. I started skating when I was like in like the 6th grade.
Really?
Yeah. So being around that crew of dudes, it's like so similar to comedy, where it's like you could have started yesterday and you're chilling with dudes that have been skating for 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck, that dude's good. And then there's guys that are sponsored. Oh, that's the dude that's been in a mag already, or blah, blah, blah. It's that same sort of culture where it's like at your own pace sort of thing. But I used to be in the van with like grown-ass dudes, like going to skate spots, going to Philly, going to New York.
Really?
Dudes smoking weed, drinking in the van. And like they knew I was underage, and they'd just be like, nah.
Oh, yeah, so they were looking out.
They were looking out. Like I would like ask for a beer, like, and they'd be like, nah, not right now. Like,
you're good, man.
Nah. Yeah, once I hit 18, dudes were like, give me a beer.
Yeah,
or two.
Because then they're not on the hook anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't smoking still at that point. it wasn't until I turned, I think, 21
Okay.
that like
So were you still skating at 8? Because 6th grade, you're like, what, 11 or 12? Were you still
Yeah.
skating at 18?
yeah, like I still skate from time to time. Like there's just like that's just ingrained in me. Like
Yeah.
a lot of my like close friends, shout out Chris Naracco and Steve Leonardo. They both own NJ Skate Shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Chris
I did
is-
see that on your social media. I saw that you
Yeah.
had like a bunch of stuff at skate shops. And
Yeah,
everything. And I was
yeah.
like, what is this?
Yeah, dude, that's where I recorded my album too. It was because
Oh, plug your album.
oh yeah, it's called None of This Shit Works. Yeah. I write that on every joke book because I lose that many joke books. So I'm like, if someone finds it, like they think it's funny at least. But like, yeah, I'm waiting for that to come out.
When did you record that?
I recorded it like months ago, to be
Okay.
honest. But my sound engineer, he went to Ecuador for a little bit, so he went missing. But he's back,
All
so
right.
we're gonna get all that together.
Awesome. You got to
yeah.
let me know when that's about to come out.
Oh,
We'll-
I got
we'll put
you
it
for
in
sure,
the show
man.
notes and everything.
But yeah, skating is like it's just me, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though I don't do it as much.
It's like comedy in a lot of ways too, not only with the community, but because I used to inline back in a long time ago. But it's a lot skateboarding, inlining, any of those kind of like aggressive X Games kind of sports are interesting because it's individual.
yes.
Like it's you by yourself, but then
Mhm.
there's also this community of people who are all willing to help and who are all trying to achieve the same goal. It's very similar to comedy in that way.
very similar.
Because you get on stage and it's just you. There is no team.
There's no coach. There's nobody telling you, "Hey, dude, did you write today?"
Yeah, because even
Yeah, I
like
mean,
with
like-
MMA and UFC and all that, you still have trainers and coaches and all these
Mhm.
people like backing you up. With comedy, like skating, it was just like you either want to do it or you don't. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and then obviously when I started doing stand up took more precedent over skating. But I'm still tapped in.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny too. It's like seeing certain dudes that I grew up skating with that are now, like riding for companies.
That's
and
awesome.
They're in the magazines, and you're like, oh shit, like he made it happen.
I love
And,
seeing that.
Yeah, me
It's
too,
my-
bro. Like,
It's my favorite thing, especially because there are comics that were kind of just not getting their start because there is no overnight success in comedy. You and I know this, and a lot of the listeners know this, but when people get their quote unquote big break, they're normally like 5 to 10 years into stand up when they get
yeah,
that.
man.
And so it's been so much fun because I do have certain negative aspects of jealousy when it comes to people who I don't think earned it the right way. Like
That's
I'll get
normal.
mad.
Yeah,
Which I
that's
think,
normal.
yeah, and I've talked about this with a lot of different comics. When I see someone who's been doing comedy for like a year and a half and blows up on TikTok, I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like,
yeah.
but then there are people, and a lot of times if they're not good, they'll fizzle out. And if they are good, there was no reason for the jealousy in the first place. But to watch comics who, like, when I first moved here, which has been under a year, but they were like just getting past at certain clubs when I moved here, they like just got a big thing.
yeah.
And now to watch them just within a year, like starting to blow up, it's like I feel almost like I'm not a part of it, but a part of me feels like it's like watching a child grow. It's like this is awesome.
Dude. Yo, bro, it's exactly that. Like seeing dudes and be like, dude, I remember this dude had holes in his shoes.
Yeah,
Bro,
and
like,
now he's in a magazine.
now he's just fucking, he's rocking, he's rolling. Yeah, like I think to see the dudes that definitely are overdue for it get it, to see the dudes that got it early, it's more reassuring for me, even if it doesn't happen for me, because I know at least it's that more possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and that's a big thing too. It makes it real. So like
yeah.
Katrina Davis, huge shout out to her. We had her on the podcast. She's started comedy in Jacksonville and bounced like she lives in LA now. And she got her Comedy Central, the online thing that
Sick.
and it was awesome. And I was so proud of her, but it was super cool because we were talking about it on the podcast because she recorded it a few months ago and she was like, I don't know when it's coming out. There are things I've recorded for certain companies and then it just never gets put out.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh, that's a credit. And then it never comes out. And I'm like, well, fuck. And so we were talking about that. And literally like 2 nights ago, I'm just scrolling on social media and Comedy Central, the official blue check Comedy Central site, put up her
Hell
set.
yeah,
and I
man.
was like, you got to be fucking like, let's fucking go.
Bro, I love seeing that.
And
shit,
it's
bro.
so awesome because it's like, this is a person who came up in the same scene that I did. We knew all the same kind of people. And then she moved to LA and it just kept grinding with comedy. And now, like, and it's a big deal. And so it's so cool to see because it's like, oh, we can all do this. How many stories have we heard from people where it's like, yeah, I was hanging out with so-and-so and they liked me. So they were like, hey, do you want to open for me? Then I was on their podcast. Now all of a sudden I'm headlining. And it's like, oh, that's...
Shit happens like organically, man. Like if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. Like
fucking right.
And I trust that shit. Like,
oh, me too.
If I pop at 70, dope.
I tell people, I joke with people all the time in my family because a lot of them are, I mean, they're all like professionals.
Yeah.
And they're always like, oh, what's your plan B? What's your plan B? And I go, if you have a plan B, you don't have a plan A. So we're just going to ride this till the wheels fall off.
That's my thing, dude.
As long as, and especially because you and I both work in the service industry. So it's like, we can swap shifts or we can request off or like if we got shows coming up, we can maneuver.
Exactly.
And my job is very aware of how seriously I take comedy. I obviously moved across the country for it.
Same.
So like if I ever have to call and be like, hey, I got a spot, like it was last minute, they'll be like, all right, you're cut. Like, don't even worry about it. Like we'll figure it out. And which is so difficult to find.
Bro, that when I took the interview at my job, that was the first thing out of my mouth. I was like, I'm a working comic, dude. Like, so
just so you know.
Yeah. So I would rather I would like my schedule to be like Friday nights I can do because that's rent day.
Yeah.
I can make my bread Friday and let me get a lunch shift and I'll do brunches on the weekend.
Yeah.
That way I could still make bread. I could still be out by 5 and I'm only sacrificing one night out of the week. And then if I have to be somewhere for like a weekend or something, then I can just get coverage.
Yeah.
And it's just way easier. And they've been super cool about the shit, man. Like,
yeah, it was interesting because I did an interview for a different job because it was one of those things where they're open for breakfast and lunch. And I work nights, but I only work like 4 nights a week. And a lot of times I'll get called out one of those. So it ends up being 3 nights a week. But it's enough. It's a nicer restaurant. So it's enough to make all my bills and then some. So it's interesting because I did this interview and they were like, oh, well, you know, this is like a lifestyle, not a job kind of a thing, which I would love to work for if I wasn't up here for comedy.
Got you.
But I was like, that's not like, but they really liked me. So I ended up interviewing like 3 of the people, like the higher ups.
Yeah.
And the first question they would all ask is, well, how committed are you? And I was like, if that's the first question you got to ask, and I know you guys are all talking to each other, so you're all just asking me to hear it out of my mouth. It's like, then I don't know if this is going to work.
Exactly.
Like, comedy that's it. Like, that's it.
Bro, yeah. I'd rather take the harder route, like, to do what I ultimately want to do, dude. Like,
100%.
I'd be dog tired most of the time, but I'm getting shit done.
Yeah, that was me today. I woke up too early, and then I'm off today, but we had the podcast, and I was like, I have to get out of bed and go right.
Exactly.
Like I have to. And I got up and I was tired and I didn't want to do it. And I write a lot when I walk. So I'll go to like the Met or the Natural History Museum or something and just like walk around and like look at people and observe. And then I'll be like, oh, that reminds me of this.
Hell yeah.
And so that's what I did all morning. And then I was like, all right, cool. And now we're here doing the show. And I'm like, all right, I'm good now. But when that alarm goes off at 8 a.m., I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, bro. I know the feeling, man.
So you go from skateboarding into comedy. And you started comedy at 19, you said? 19,
yeah.
Okay, and you're bartending at night. You're starting to do comedy. So when did you start like getting into did you ever like fully get involved in that bartender lifestyle of like going out and drinking? Or at that point was comedy still super important?
No, it was. You know what's funny is like I feel like I've always juggled a bunch of shit at the same time. So
I totally get that.
So the one thing that gets sacrificed is sleep.
Yeah.
Usually. So like all the bartenders around town know each other anyway. And some of those dudes would come on the weekends to Stress. So then they would like see me there on a whim sometimes. And then every time I would go in or something, they'd be like, oh shit, yo, dude, come take a shot. Then you go to another spot, same dude. Oh, dude, hey, shot. Like, so that was my introduction for sure, was jumping around, getting to know all the bartenders.
And was this at 19, like 20 years old?
19, yeah, dude. Like older comics were bringing me to a bar right down the street from the club. I won't say what it was, but they'd bring me in and I was like drinking beer. Like I was a regular at 19, 20 already. And I remember my 21st, my mom blew my spot up.
Really?
My mom pulled up on me to take a shot at me on my 21st and the bartender already knew me. So she's like, hey, I want to buy my son a shot for his birthday. She's like, oh, this dude? What? I know your son. He's great. He's like, how old is he turning? She's like 21. He was like, what the fuck, bro? He was so pissed for a
Yeah,
second.
because that's like a sacred kind of code. Like, you're going to come in and I know you, and you're going to order a drink. I assume you're not going to put me in a position where I could get arrested.
No, yeah. So, but he was like, after 5 minutes, he was like, you know what? He's never been a problem. He's never been fucked up here. He's like, he has his couple beers and a shot and he leaves. So like, I always had a good reputation being like the young dude that was just chilling.
Yeah.
Once I hit 21 was when like heavier drinking came into play for sure.
Okay.
Like, and not that it got out of hand, but like, you know, you have those moments where, you know, puke for the first time.
Yeah.
Then, you know, you're like.
Do you remember the first time you puked?
I do. It was, I got the spins from smoking.
Okay.
I didn't know that smoking and drinking was a delicate line.
Cigarettes or weed?
Weed.
Okay. So what happened? How old are you? 21, I'm assuming?
Yeah. I started smoking. No, I was 20. This was before my 21st.
Okay.
I started smoking weed at 20, and I didn't know that you couldn't, like, do both. Well, you can do both, but you got to know yourself.
It's a delicate balance.
Very delicate. And this was before I knew dark liquor doesn't work for me either.
Okay.
So, definitely shots of Hennessy.
Oh.
Yeah. It turns out I'm not black enough for Hennessy. And I don't have stomach for it. And I remember we did that. We smoked a blunt.
You had the barbershop lifestyle, but not the Hennessy.
Bro, you know, it's funny.
That's a line too far.
I promise you, the barbershop my dad was cutting at in New Brunswick at the time was right across the street from where I was bartending.
Oh, really?
And we knew the younger barbers that would stay later than my dad. So like my dad would dip ready, and then like I'd like get off of work around like 11 or so, and then just go across the street and kick it. And
for real?
with those dudes.
Damn, that's cool as shit.
Man. And they knew my pops. So it was like, oh, word, little Dame, take a shot. Like, so I was doing that. And I remember I got home, and it was that first moment where I got to put a foot on the floor.
Wait, when did you smoke though? So you were drinking, you were at the bar drinking.
At the bar drinking, went across street to the barbershop.
Okay.
Drank with those dudes. And then some of those dudes smoked too.
Okay, so then you smoked there.
So they're smoking. And then one of the younger barbers was like, bro, I'll bring you home.
Okay. Yeah, bet. Let's go. Yeah.
I'm feeling all right. Like everything's good. Everything's copacetic. I lay down, and it was like my first moment of like the spins where you close your eyes and it feels like somebody
you're on a roll.
Doing this to you.
And it's terrifying the first time it happens because you don't know why it's happening.
Bro, I thought I was gonna die. Like, yeah, I thought I was gonna die, bro. Like, and I just remember I put a foot on the floor, like, all right,
I'm not
still
moving.
there.
Yeah,
floor's still there. Mind you, I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. Me and my brother share a room, and my mom is in the next room, and my little sister at the time was like, she was like 4 maybe.
Okay.
And then I remember having to go there and try to quietly fucking projectile vomit, which is like...
You didn't go outside? You decided to do it in the house?
I had to. Yeah, I had to. And...
Well, that's an instinct thing. Like when your brain's like, oh, we're going to throw up, you immediately run to the bathroom.
Mouth starts watering.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was like, bro...
You get the mouth sweats. I call it the mouth sweats.
Yeah, bro. And this was like on a Thursday, too. And my mom's a teacher, so like she had to be up early. Bro, I just remember I puked.
And this has got to be like 1 a.m. because you left the bar at 11.
At 11. This was like... I puked at like... I woke up at like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3. And I just remember throwing up. And then I was like sitting on the floor, like next to the toilet. And I remember I was like, all right, think I'm good. Puked again. All right, I'm going to just sit here for a little bit longer. Close my eyes, open them, and like looked at my phone on the floor. And it was like 6 a.m.
Oh, my God.
And my mom wakes up in like 15 minutes. And I just look at the toilet covered in puke.
God.
And I was like trying to hurry up. And
did she catch you?
No, she came home after work and was like, I heard you puking all night. Like, what happened to you? Like, and I was like, I was just drinking after work. She was like, yeah, you were just drinking after work? She was like, the bathroom smells like weed too.
Oh,
I was
really?
Like,
damn.
I was like, yeah, you got me, dude.
Party's over,
you got me, yeah. And then she was like, by the way, dickhead, just lifts the seat and it's just puke under the seat.
Oh,
like,
man.
I was like, oh, God. And that was my introduction to, okay.
That's when you learn, like, maybe I should.
You got to figure out your balance, dude. You know what I mean?
Did you ever figure out your balance?
Kinda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like riding a bike. Even though you know how to ride it, you're still going to crash. Times. So, yeah.
When did you get into heavier drugs? Because you sent me a story that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, so I'm like a mellow dude. Like, The only other drug I've ever done was acid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never gotten into pills. Never did coke. But acid.
So that's the only, because you sent me that story and I was like, oh, so you're like a party guy. But that's
no.
That
but
literally is the story because that's the only other thing you've
that's the
done.
only thing I've done. But I've also realized that I'm good at taking acid.
Okay.
So yeah, like there was a slew of acid stories after that. But like, yeah, it was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Are you an Eagles fan?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my boy was just like, we got to party like Philly. We're like, what's the most Philly shit we could think of? And my homie Reggie's like, acid on a Sunday night before work on a Monday morning. And I was like, yeah. So we did it. And at the time, I was going through like a crazy breakup too.
Oh, really? Was this the ex from the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this ex, yeah, smart girl, sweet girl, you know, just like cocaine too much.
Yeah.
And that was when I had a young dude moment too, where I was like, "Hey man, you can't out fuck cocaine." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for
you're
sure.
just like, you're not better than it. You know what I mean? Like if it's between you and coke,
It's
you're,
coke. Yeah.
you're going, dog. So yeah, so I was dealing with that. So I was like already on some like, I don't care. Yeah, I'll do some acid.
Have you done acid at this point?
At that point, no.
Okay.
No, but I was a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, so I've heard great things.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I remember I took it and super smooth. I had a
Okay.
good time. I
See,
remember.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that's something that always terrifies me about psychedelics is people are always like, you have to be mushrooms, acid, all that kind of stuff. You have to be in a good headspace. And I live in a horrific headspace.
Yeah, I wasn't in a good headspace.
Well, and that's what
I
you were
took
saying.
it.
You said you're going through the breakup. You got a lot on your mind. So I think that would be a deterrent to take it. But you were just like, nah, fuck it. Let's go.
I think I was so pissed already at what I was going through that I was like, you know what, let's pour gasoline on top
Okay.
of it. I don't care. And
And it ended up being a smooth trip.
yeah, it made me way more in touch with myself where I was like, you know what? I'm actually like I looked at that situation after coming down off it like, oh, that's really not that big of a deal actually.
Yeah.
Like I got very introspective. And it wasn't trippy like how people describe it. Like people
The
weren't
trails and the colors.
people
and
weren't
stuff.
mixing. People weren't melting or anything. I did notice that my peripheral was like way wider
Yeah,
for some
it
reason.
does that.
I have terrible vision too, and
Oh,
I
do you?
noticed. Yeah, I'm very nearsighted, and I noticed that I could see and read shit from afar. I was like, oh, this is working. Like then I remember I went to smoke a cigarette. I remember I lit it, took a puff, and I remember I started thinking about like the breakup.
Yeah.
Basically, like, oh man, what went wrong? I don't know. Blah blah blah.
Cocaine went wrong.
Yeah, I went to go take another hit of the cigarette. It's burnt all the way down to the butt.
Oh, so you
And
were
it-
thinking about this for...
And it was an American Spirit. It
Oh,
felt like
God.
5 seconds, but I must have been standing there
Contemplating the
for like
breakup.
12 minutes.
At
Yeah,
least.
bro. Like,
Because if you're smoking a cigarette, it takes about 4 to 5 minutes to smoke it.
and
that's
it's an
if you're, like,
American
going.
Spirit too.
And those are packed.
Yeah, so it was like burnt all the. And I remember like just looking, I was like, "What the hell?" And I remember I could drink a lot. And I talk about it on stage. It's very true. I came to a realization that Missy Elliott is the most wholesome woman in all of hip hop. I remember thinking about that and coming inside like, who's more wholesome than Missy? Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like,
Missy all the way,
it's
baby.
Missy. It's just tracksuits and hits. Every single
Please
time.
tell me that's the tag.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
tracksuits and
yeah. I was like, she's wholesome. Where I tell the crowd, I'm like, bro, try to picture her naked.
You can't.
I was like, you can't. I was like, even if she took the tracksuit off, there's just another tracksuit under the tracksuit. Like, yeah. But it was a good time, man. And after that, I remember I started microdosing.
Okay.
Like actually just and going out.
So that's a good time story.
It was a good
Okay.
time. It was a good time. I
Because
never
you just put acid trip after Philly won the Super Bowl, and I was like, this could go 100
Yeah.
different ways.
No, I never had a bad experience with acid. The only bad experience I did have was one time I was on Easton Avenue in New Brunswick, and I'm walking downtown, and I get a call from Stress, and they're like, "Hey, can you do like 10 minutes up front on the show?" And I'm already tripping.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I get there, and it's a state trooper benefit.
Oh no.
Yeah, dude.
So you can't even joke about being on acid.
Oh, I did. And That's how I opened up.
Fuck yeah.
I looked, I was like, wait, how many of y'all cops? And like bunch of hands went up and I was like, yeah, I picked the wrong day to start microdosing. And
Did they laugh?
It.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck. Like I got PBA cards.
Did you really?
Yeah.
It's weird because
But I was panicking, dude.
Yeah,
that's why I told the truth. I don't know why, dude. I panicked and told the truth.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the worst
I'm the
case
same
scenario.
way.
I looked, I was like, this is my biggest fear, dude. I was like, I'm on drugs in a room full of cops.
This is my nightmare.
Yeah.
This is my nightmare.
Yeah, and I was like, now I got to be funny. Like, this dude's just sitting there like dying. He was just like, no, you're good. You're good.
That's awesome. I've had the experience doing different benefits and fundraisers and stuff, especially for like sobriety, like AA groups or like just different things like that, where I'll go to do, and I love doing those rooms because they get most of my humor, most of my stories are about like my like darkest shit.
Yeah.
And going through that. So they understand that. But every time the person putting it on is always like, don't talk of, you could trigger somebody, don't talk about using, don't talk about drinking. And I'm always like, yeah, okay. And then I go up there and the way I always justified it was like, well, I'm not going to tell jokes about that stuff. I'll just tell you guys some stories about what happened to me.
Yeah.
Which it's all my material.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, and then if I get off stage and they get mad, I go, oh, I didn't like tell like jokes. Like I was just telling stories.
Yeah, dude.
That happened to me. So it's not like you told me not to tell jokes about drinking.
Yeah.
I just told a story.
Yeah, I'm just reading an autobiography.
Yeah, exactly. I'm giving a TED talk that they think is funny.
Hell yeah.
But those kind of audiences, it's weird because they always try to put kid gloves on certain audiences where they're like, you can't do this or that. Because I have a lot of friends who have done cop shows, like benefits or fundraisers or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's always some like executive assistant who's like, you can't say this, don't say that, don't do this. And then they're like, all right, whatever. And then they go up and just do their thing. And the cops love it.
Nah, I was so surprised at like how open-minded they were.
Yeah.
Just because my experience with police is always weird.
Do you have a lot of experience with police? Or?
Yeah, like I had I had my like learning moment where, hey, dude, pay those parking tickets because they definitely will suspend your license.
Oh shit!
And,
what happened with that?
I got pulled over on a suspended, not knowing that those tickets turned into a warrant.
Oh yeah.
And I remember they were like, yeah, we gotta take you to the station. So I'm like laughing. I'm like, where? And he's like, yeah, you gotta get out the car. And I was like, what?
Like, you thought he was like fucking with you?
Yeah, and as soon as I got out the car, I knew it was real when he said, is there anything in your pockets that could stick me? I went, bro, are you for real?
We're doing this?
Yeah. And I remember they took me in. My boy Quentin was with me. And I remember they gave my phone to Quentin. Quentin called my dad.
Well, did they let Quentin take the car?
Nah, they left it because Quentin's from so Q's from France, so he didn't have he didn't have a license yet. It was another server at the place I was bartending at.
Yeah.
And I was dropping him off home. And I got arrested doing a good deed. Yeah. I was so pissed. And I just remember, I got arrested and then they put me in a cell with a dude that didn't pay his child support. And then this dude is just telling me like, yo, don't have kids, man. If you do, make sure you pay that shit. You're going to end up like me. And I'm like, I am you. I'm like,
that's exactly what happened.
I didn't pay parking tickets and I'm sitting here like, so that was that. That was the first time I got arrested. And then,
okay. So that kind of, so your understanding of the cops wasn't from a good perspective.
Yeah, it wasn't. They were cool. There was one dude like,
so you go to do the state trooper benefit and you're like,
yeah, the state trooper benefit was great. Like, I was like, all right. And like in the back of my head, I'm like, I hope this guy was at that show maybe. But no, they were just like, yeah, you got to go. Took my shoelaces and everything. I was like, guys, this ain't that big of a deal. I'm not going to kill myself over parking tickets.
Yeah.
And my dad at the time, thank God, was hooking up with this chick that was in town. And he just happened to be at her crib.
Oh, really?
So my dad was able to come and like bail me out. And he wasn't happy, obviously.
Yeah.
My mom, Def, wasn't happy. He's like, my son, I didn't think my son would ever get arrested. I'm like, yo, it's not like I got arrested with bricks, dude.
Yeah.
I just didn't pay a parking ticket. Like it's not that serious. Like,
speaking of not that serious, because I've been arrested 8 times and it's well documented on the show, but it's the thing that makes me the most frustrated about all of it is every time I got arrested, whatever it was for, the times, so I've been arrested, I've been put in handcuffs 8 times, I've been booked 6 times, and I've spent actual significant, longer than overnight in jail 3 times.
okay.
So 3 of them were just overnighters, and then 3 of them were, a couple weeks. a week, and then one was a few months.
Damn, you seasoned, dude.
Yeah. But every time I would, because, we're comics. So we placate to the audience. Like, not always, but, you want people to, I can only speak for me, but I want people to like me.
Yeah.
So I would always try to talk, not only the other inmates, but I would talk to the guards and some of the other cops and stuff. And every time I would explain to the officer like why I was in there. Because in my head, I'm still just like, well, I'm not a criminal. Like, it was bad timing. Or I'm not a criminal. It was just, this or that.
Yeah.
And they're like, how many times have you been arrested? I'm like, 8. They go, you're a criminal. Like, you're a fucking criminal. But they would always say the same thing. They'd always go, oh, well, if I was the arresting officer, I probably would have just let you go. And I'm like, where the fuck are all these cool cops when I'm getting arrested? Like,
where you are now?
Yeah. I'm like, where are all you? So it's the same kind of thing. Like, you're getting pulled over and you're like, yeah, it's parking tickets. And he's like, no, step out. And you're like, are we really fucking doing this right now?
Bro, the second time I got arrested, I was arrested as a passenger.
Yeah, that's fucking professional.
Yeah.
God damn it. Let's talk about that story. I see you did.
Yeah, it was so with the ex. She is she's definitely drunk and high, but she's able to operate a vehicle because cocaine is put you on autopilot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
so what happened? Where are you guys at? Like, how are you guys still dating at the time? Are you fighting?
we're still dating at the time.
Did you guys live together?
No, it was one of those situations where you're just always over your girl's house.
Yeah,
her mom's cool as shit. So she doesn't care.
Oh, she was living at home?
She was living at home.
Doing coke, living at home?
Bro, listen.
Bro,
listen. It was a lot. Like
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's like it was almost like I felt like Thomas Edison's wife. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, dude, still with this? Like wake up at 6 and she's just like talking about some shit like that.
We should start a business.
Yeah,
again?
Bro. Yeah. And I remember it was me. We had my mom's car. We were actually going. I had a show that night.
Okay.
Did the show. And
is she like drinking and partying and stuff at this point, or is this?
She is. Okay. She's driving. Because at that point, I left my license at my mom's or something. I didn't have it on me. So
was this before or after you got arrested for the suspended license? You said
this is after I got. So
you got all the license stuff taken care of.
License shit's taken care of. I just don't physically have it.
Okay.
So I'm like,
and you're like, I'm not running that risk.
No, I'm not running that risk. Yeah, but we had my mom's car, so I'm like, cool, no problem. She has her license, cool. So she's driving. It's me and her cousin's in the back, right? And her cousin's from the UK. Okay. She's also originally from the UK.
All right.
So I remember something happened where she spilled like, it was either a beer or a milkshake. I can't remember what it was, but she spilled it in her lap.
Legally, that's an incredibly important distinction.
Yeah, no, there's definitely an open beer in there.
Okay.
For sure.
Oh, so there is, okay. So it's not like you just can't remember what she spilled, but there's both in the car.
She spilled something on herself, swerved. Cop behind us saw her swerve.
Lights her up.
Pulled us over, right? And not only does one car pull up, 2 cars pull up.
Mm-hmm.
Then the guy's like shining the light. Then he sees an open Miller can. So he's like, hey, what's going on? You guys been drinking? And we're like, yeah, but we only had like a couple beers. We're like, this is from the 6-pack is from where we just left from. Oh, where you guys coming from? He's a comic. Yeah, like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Oh, it says his car is registered. And he says my mom's name. And I'm like, yeah, it's my mother. This is my girlfriend. She's driving. Blah, blah. Oh, okay. So then they're like, yeah, can she step out the car? So I'm like, fuck. Like, next thing I know, they have her doing the field sobriety test.
Yeah.
And she's in heels.
Oh.
And like, yeah, exactly. Like the cocaine uniform. Hot girl, cocaine uniform, doing a field sobriety test.
Short skirt.
Yeah. And
crop top.
Just like, yeah, doing this, touching her nose. And I'm looking at it happen. And I'm like, yo, it looked like she about to fail, I think. Oh, fuck. What are we going to do? And then I remember they had her wallet. And I went, oh, shit.
She has cocaine in the wallet.
I'm pretty sure it's there. But she's a veteran. She knows where to hide that shit. Yeah.
This is not her first tour.
Bro, I will give her that. I'll give her that. She's a vet. So they didn't find it, thank God. Then they gave her a wallet back, have her sit in the car, and they go, hey, dude, do you have your ID on you? And I'm like, why?
No, that's why she's driving.
Yeah. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, they're like, I forget what they said, what bullshit reason.
Not
And
wearing your seatbelt or
I
something?
felt like, now it wasn't that I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. They went, some like, oh, well, if this is your mother's car, we just want to confirm that you are you.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, me and my mother don't have the same last name anyway, but I can call her. Blah, blah. They're like, nah, it'd just be easier. And I'm like, I don't have my ID on me. So then they're like, oh, just give us your social. So I'm like, all right, cool. Give them the social. They come back. Yeah, dude, can you step out the car?
What?
And I'm like, what?
Not
Again, right? So, dude. So like,
Were you free? Were you like, why? What the fuck?
Why?
'Cause your first experience when they ran your name
was for a parking ticket.
yeah,
right?
that you ended up getting a warrant for. So
Yeah,
were you
right.
like, what the
So
fuck
I
is
got
going
one,
on?
right? So I got that, and I remember when I had that taken care of, I had a guy that was a regular at my job, and he was a lawyer.
Yeah.
So he got me the whole traffic, like he got the thing taken care
Yeah,
of.
the
I didn't
school
get
and
points on
expunge
it.
and all that. Yeah.
I didn't get points on my license. However, there was a what do they give you? Those fucking that you have to pay every year.
The
It's
registration? Or
No,
you
not the registration. It's like a penalty fee, basically. I forget what it is.
Oh, like the SR or FR?
Something where I had to pay $250 like for the next 3 years because that happened.
Yeah, that. So in
In
Florida,
exchange.
it's like a. In Florida, we have it for like if you get too many speeding tickets or you
Yeah.
get a DUI or something. It's high. It's like a high level insurance thing. It's like SR 44 or FR 44, financially
something like
responsible. Yeah,
I thought
in
I
Florida,
had.
it's expensive as shit. It's like $250 a month.
Yeah, nah. This one was like $250 for the year. I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
But I didn't pay that yet. But I thought I had more time to pay it. They were like, "Hey, well, yeah, you didn't pay this, and now like it's turned into like a warrant again."
My god!
I'm like, what? And they went, yeah. So like, you have anything in your pockets that could stick me? I'm like, not again.
are you serious?
Yeah. So I remember,
'Cause-
mind you, she's back in the car.
She's
And
ready.
She's
she
fine.
passed.
Yeah, she's fine, bro. Yo, and I'm like getting arrested,
Dude, you
Yeah.
gotta be kidding me. So she passes the field. So like they're like, all right, have a nice day, man.
Yo, yeah. So then I'm like,
Get the fuck out of here.
bro. So now I'm cocaine in the wallet and everything, and somehow you're back in the car, and I'm like, all because you spilled some shit on yourself.
And now you're getting arrested.
So they let her come to the window of the cop car, and I'm like, fuck it, call my mom. She's going to be pissed, but blah, blah, blah. Thank God her cousin from the UK had money. Something happened where I think like they're African.
Yeah.
They moved from Africa they're from Africa. They moved from Nigeria to the UK. I believe her cousin's mother, her aunt, I guess they sold property, and he's a musician. So he actually moved to New York
Okay.
to start pursuing music. So he had a good deal of he had a little bit of bread from selling the property. And that's what was to hold him over to do his thing for a few years in New York. So yeah, he had the bread. But because it was like $500 or something
To bail you out?
to bail me out. And I had a debit card, but then they
They
went
won't let you use
cash
it.
only.
Yep.
So I'm like, fuck. And then they went everything we
And the
took.
shitty thing about that is when they book you, if you have cash on you,
They take that.
They take that.
They
so you
take-
can't even use
you
your
can't-
cash.
Exactly.
You have to find
They didn't
someone
let
to
me
do it for
use
you.
my debit
Yeah,
card.
they won't.
I was
Yeah.
like, we already have this in our possession. We can't give her your debit card.
Yeah.
So then I was like, call my mom. And then you just hear this voice in the back. Don't worry, brother. I've got you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then they went. I was sitting chained up to a fucking bench
Yeah.
for 2 hours. And then they had to go to an ATM. They fucking
This is after you've already been booked and everything?
booked. They
Okay.
found an ATM, came back, bailed me out. Everything's copacetic.
Did you end up going to court for it?
No, they paid they basically just made me pay the fee
Oh, okay.
and whatever the warrant fee was,
Yeah.
which is whatever
Like
much.
$100, yeah.
Yeah, and then chained up to a fucking bench. Mind you, the dude's like, "Oh, yeah, you do comedy?" And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, dude."
So is this in the station?
This is in the station. I'm
Yeah.
chained, and I remember talking to him. I'm like, "Guys, can I not be handcuffed to a bench?" Oh, it's procedure. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?" Mind you, there's some crying white lady that's a bench over from me, and she's not handcuffed. And I'm like, "Bro, what the fuck is this?" "Oh, she ain't handcuffed." They're like, "Well, different shit." I'm like, "Oh, is it?"
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I know
yeah.
what's different about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Is it? I'm like, cool, whatever, man. And yeah, that was a whole situation too, dude.
Damn. So
Drunk and high, pass the sobriety test. She gets to drive off, and I get arrested just for sitting there.
that's insanity.
Wild.
So the reason I brought up the seatbelt thing is because when I got served on that warrant, so it's a DUI is a third degree misdemeanor in the state of Florida. It's like the lowest thing it can be.
Okay.
Let me preface it by saying if you get caught just drinking and driving.
Mm-hmm.
So I, thank God, never got into an accident, never hit a thing. Yeah, basically, I never got into an accident. So that sums up pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
And because of that, all my DUIs were like really low level DUIs. So when they put out a warrant for that, just like your parking tickets, it's a bench warrant. They're not going to serve it. Like the SWAT team's not going to show up to your house. They're not going to monitor your social media.
Exactly.
They just know eventually you'll slip because everybody eventually slips and has to give their ID to a cop.
Right.
So fast forward, I go to rehab in 2013, get out. About 3 or 4 months after I'm out of rehab, we're driving to an AA meeting and I'm not wearing my seatbelt. Only because everyone else in the truck is not wearing their seatbelt and I want to look cool. Because I'm one of the people, like if I'm driving, I won't start the car till everyone's wearing their seatbelt.
Yeah, exactly.
But no one's wearing their seatbelt, so I want to look cool. So we're driving, and this is in Neptune Beach, which is like a suburb of Jacksonville. There's no crime. So the cops are literally standing at this light that a lot of people run, just pointing out of their car, just pointing at people, pull over, you pull over, you pull over. Sees all of us not wearing our seatbelt. So he points at the truck and says, pull over. Now, mind you, like 6 months prior to this, my mom had called me and said, hey, Brennan, I just got a letter from South Florida. I guess they sent it to every known residence you have, like, you know, for moving and stuff in college. And she's like, there is a warrant out for your arrest. So I know I have a warrant.
Oh, shit.
Because I skipped out on my probation for my DUI. But it's such a low-level misdemeanor that they're not looking for me. They just kind of sent out a letter, and that was the end of it.
Exactly.
So the cop pulls us over. And he's like, license and registration to the driver. And I'm like, well, I'm sitting in the passenger seat.
There's no way.
I don't have a license or anything. And I know I don't have a license. So I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm like, I'm good. Then the cop asked for my ID. And I was like, why do you need my ID? And I have a bit about it now, but that's when I said, this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. Francis Scott Key says, I don't got to show you shit. And he was like, actually, Florida statute, blah, blah, blah. If you're in the passenger seat, you have to wear a seatbelt. So I'm going to write you a ticket for not having a seatbelt on. I need your ID. And I was like, motherfucker. So I give him my ID. They come back, guns drawn, get out of the car, you know, get on your stuff. I had been arrested like 4 times prior to this. So like,
oh, they saw the rat.
Yeah, they pops right up.
Oh, shit.
All my priors and everything. So it's get out of the car, warrant for your arrest. But I just remember thinking as they're putting the hooks on me, I'm like, all for a fucking seatbelt.
Bro.
I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Bro, I could have been sitting in a semicircle.
Dude, well, and like for you, it's like
I could have been.
all because of over a spilt milkshake, you went to jail again.
Yo,
luckily you were able to get bailed out.
Yeah, mind you, the real criminal got away. Yeah. I was like, bro, what? Yeah, that blew my mind, bro. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about this other story because we talked about you throwing up a little earlier. I didn't want to overload with throw.
No problem.
But you sent me a story on the train. So was this in the city or was this back home in Jersey?
Oh, bro, this is this is coming back from the city, going back to New Brunswick because my girl still lives in New Brunswick.
Okay.
This happened maybe a year ago.
Okay, I was gonna say how long ago did this happen?
This happened maybe a year ago.
So because you're like 26 right now, right?
27.
27. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you haven't been drinking that long. I mean, you didn't start really drinking until like 1920. So you've only been doing it a little while.
Exactly.
So what happened? Like take us through it. What happened that night?
My girlfriend's a tank and same situation. She smokes and drinks.
Different girlfriend though.
Different girlfriend. Yeah, this one's good. This is my current girlfriend. My current girlfriend's great.
Yeah.
And I remember we were day drinking.
In the city?
No, in New Brunswick.
Okay.
And I had just scratch that. We weren't going to the city. We were going back to my place in Jersey City.
Okay.
I had just moved like up to Jersey City. So we were day drinking in New Brunswick. And I remember I might have took like 2-3 shots, had a beer. Then we had like White Claws for the train. So I remember we
White Claw
pounded a White Claw, right? And then we're smoking a J before we get on the train. Boom. Everything's fine. Everything's good. I guess, you know how the trains have the seats you could face one way and you could face the other way?
Yeah, because we had a storage unit in Jersey. So I've taken that trip out to Jersey quite a few times.
Bro, I took the seat sitting backwards. So we're like moving backwards.
Yeah.
How I'm sitting. And bro, like that, yeah, that centrifugal force got me, bro. Like, yeah, I remember, yeah, it was so bad. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm feeling it. And then I'm like, oh, dude, this isn't happening to me right now.
So you start getting the mouth sweats again?
Mouth sweats, right? Sitting there. So then conductor comes by. This is when you still had to wear masks on the train too. So you got to puke. You got a mask over your fucking face. So you're already starting to feel like, oh, this is bad.
Because it's just that warm air circulating
warm
back.
air.
And
You're
like,
feeling more sick.
Yeah.
So then I go to conductor. I'm like, hey, is there a bathroom on the train? And he goes, oh, bathrooms are shut down right now because of COVID.
Were you
They
like, I'm going to fucking vomit on
Nah,
the
so
train?
I went, all right, whatever. Right. So I remember we had a to-go food, like, and it was in a bag. So I'm looking at her. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I got like my head in my hands. I'm like, yo, I'm about to throw up. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm about to puke. Right. So then I remember I'm sitting there. I'm like, I think it's past. Okay. Then I'm like, threw the fucking food out the bag, right? Puked in the bag.
Oh,
right?
no.
It's a biblical amount of puke. Like, bro. Like, it's like, I remember it was getting to the and I had to like tie the bag.
Is it a plastic bag?
Plastic bag,
Okay,
right?
good. Thank
Tie
God.
the bag, boom.
Those
Then-
paper bags, that would not have been good for the people.
Boom. More's coming.
Oh, no.
I'm like, fuck. Plastic bag's already done.
yeah.
Now I'm looking around, and I just look at my own backpack. And I'm like, fuck it. And I remember I just took the shoes I'm wearing right now were in my bag.
Okay.
And I was like, just take the J's out the bag.
Yeah, you got to.
Threw up in a brand new backpack. And I remember the conductor looking at me and he was like, oh, dude, nah, and this is full circle. He goes, yo, if you told me you're going to be sick, I could have opened it. And I went, yo. I was like, what, dude? I was like, what the fuck? And it was a Herschel bag too. So I was like, I can't even.
What'd you do with the bag?
Yeah, I threw that shit away.
That's an expensive
Yeah,
bag, though.
but then it was fucked up too because, mind you, we smoked, we drank, but I'm still high. So I remember we got off at the train station. We got off at North Penn, and I remember
Did you carry this bag the whole time? Like on
Well,
the
no,
train?
it's in the seat. Yeah, I have it right.
Two
So
bags of puke.
2 bags of puke. So I put the plastic bag in a Russian doll bag of puke. Like, all right, so it's in there. So it's in there, and then I remember I'm like stoned. And I get off the train, and my girl's like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah. And then I threw the bag, like, in the garbage. And then, like, as we're walking away, I'm like, yo, how suspicious did that just look? I'm like, bro, I just put a whole backpack in the train station bed. I was like, oh, shit, they might think this is a bomb. Which, like,
Did you, like, run out of the station?
No, I was like, let's just get on the path. But then, like, I started giggling to myself. I'm like, what if there's a cop that's like, we got to check, see if it's a bomb. Just opens it up. And it's not 1, but 2 bags of puke. Like, I'd be like, bro, that'd be amazing. Bro.
Not 1, but 2 bags of puke. What
2.
the fuck?
Yeah, bro. And yeah, that was, yeah, I hate it. Like, I wish I wasn't a puker.
Yeah, because that's the second time that's happened now.
Yeah, I
Just
puke.
in the stories that you've told.
Yeah, I puke like low key, like when I get home, like an adult sometimes. Like I don't know, sensitive stomach maybe, but like,
Yeah, I'm the same way. Because I've got horrific anxiety, so I started throwing up like young. Because I didn't start drinking until I was like 18, 19, but I started throwing up at a very young age because of my anxiety. Like it would make my stomach hurt so bad I would throw up. So I say that to say I got so used to throwing up that now, if my stomach even remotely feels queasy, I'll be like, I'm gonna go vomit.
I'm out.
Like an adult. Like I'm like I don't. I'd much rather throw up now and go through that for 30 seconds to a minute than sit with a stomach ache for 8 hours.
I've only, what's funny is I have like a timer in my head where like it's just that inner voice like, hey, it's gonna happen, bro.
Yeah.
Like hurry up and get your affairs in order.
Yeah, because
Get out of here.
Very rarely. Actually, very rarely do I have to like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. Like a lot of times, because I think it's needless throwing. Like for me, it's needless. Like I'm throwing it because I don't want to feel sick anymore.
Yeah.
But my body's like, we don't have to do the emergency evac. But I'm like, nah, I'm gonna get it out.
Yeah, I wish I could. Like to me, it's just.
So you've got that timer that's like, ding, here we go.
Yeah, you have no choice.
Yeah.
I wish I could be like, near a bathroom. Let's puke right now. Get it over with. I don't have that. It's just like hey, bro, now.
Sometimes I'll get back from the gym. If I take like too much pre-workout, I'm like, I'm just going to get this out because like I do not feel good.
Yo, I got to stare at the toilet so long.
Really?
Puke. Like if I have to wait for, I got to stare at a toilet
God
for
damn.
a minute. Like, yeah, it's weird. But yeah, it's always usually just instant. Like,
So does that happen to you often? Because you don't drink that much that often.
nah,
so.
I mean, I drink a fair deal. I mean, like not, like, yeah, definitely not to a point where it's a problem, but like, you know, it's just, I think the environment,
Yeah.
you drink at a show,
Yeah,
I
that's
drink
true.
I like, I'll get off of work sometimes.
That's true. I
like-
guess it's just because you have that very cool, like, calm demeanor.
Yeah, it's just always around. And like, yeah, I don't
But you
Like,
don't
I
get
don't
like
get-
crazy.
I don't
so-
get fucked up and
Yeah,
get
that's
nuts.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, because
There's a lot of comics I hang out with who still drink. Like you can tell instantly when they've been drinking because
Oh, it's a switch.
Yeah,
It's a
they
switch.
get loud.
Yeah, nah, me, like, I'll think shit's funny. Like, I might be a little looser and just more talkative, but never to where somebody's like, we got to get this dude out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I said earlier, like 10 seconds ago, I said when I hang out with comics, let me rephrase that. When I hang out with anybody,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people, especially in our industry, where it's like not comedically, but in the service industry,
Mhm.
where like I'll invite people to come out to a show and they'll get there, they'll have 2 drinks, and it's like, you're not the same person I work with. Like,
Yeah,
now you're
man.
being loud and you're like being a dick. Like, this is
Kinda.
not.
Yeah, tapping someone they don't know in the chest.
Yeah.
It's
like,
yo,
dude,
you don't
this
know
is
this
not-
dude.
Well, I had like some friends come out. It was it was a few months ago now to a show that I did. And one of the guys was just like fucking hammered and like yelling out and stuff. And I was like, bro, like this is not what we talked about. Like, do not
Yeah.
do this.
Holy fuck.
And they're like, oh, this is so much fun. And I'm like, I'm never inviting you
I'm not
ever
having
anywhere
fun.
again.
Yeah, same thing. When I have bar regulars that come in, they're like, dude, I got to come to a show. I'm like, I've seen you in action.
Yeah, you're not coming.
I'll let you know, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
So we're at the hour. Plug everything one more time. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh man, yeah, at not Alex Nicholas on Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, I got my first album coming out soon, called None of This Shit Works. Yeah, hopefully you guys don't agree with the title, but yeah, I got that coming. Just doing shows, Jersey.
Do you have
New
a
York,
website or anywhere
Philly.
where people?
Nah, no
Instagram?
website. I should get a link tree. I should try
Everyone
to do
does
that. Yeah, but
So
yeah.
everyone just go to at not Alex Nicholas.
Yep,
on Instagram,
NOTALEXNICHOLAS.
so they can find out what you're doing
Yeah, dude, I post shows on my story and on the feed
for sure.
And yeah, man, dude,
Well, thank you so much for coming out,
bro,
I
thank you for
appreciate it.
having
This
me.
was fun.
Mad fun, dude. Yeah.
At Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. No upcoming dates. That June 29th show probably going to get scrubbed. So
Hell yeah.
thank you everybody for listening. Subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/BrennanTassif, and we'll talk to you all next week.